Hello everybody! Alright, so today I have the Season 11 Shaco guide for you guys, but before I get into the video, I would highly appreciate it if you could check out the Discord and the Twitch. Link to them is in the description down below. That would mean a lot to me, guys. Thank you. Alright, so for 80 Shaco, there's only really two options and two different decisions you can make. Now, Hail of Blades, you should always run that in 80 Shaco. Now, you can choose between Cheap Shot and Sudden Impact. Cheap Shot has more early game damage, while Sudden Impact has more mid game and late game damage. I personally like having more early game damage because that's where Shaco kind of excels. I like winning my games in the first 5 minutes because then otherwise you're kind of flipping. But yeah, it's obviously preference. Now, then you go Eyeballs Collection, you go Relentless Hunter, that's pretty much the same for everything. And then the second decision you have to make is, do you want to go Inspiration or Sorcery? Inspiration is the early game choice again. You get free boots, you save 300 gold, and you get Approach Velocity, which I think really helps. Sticking to your targets when ganking or even when like going for duels. You don't get kited as easily because your E first of all slows, the E passive also slows, and then rep buff also slows, so you're pretty much going to have this like 24/7, and this kind of helps stick to your target, especially when ganking and when enemies flash away. You still have the chance to follow them and try to stick to them. You can also run Futures Market instead of Boots or instead of Approach Velocity. I personally don't like it that much. I think Boots and Approach Velocity is the perfect combination. If you want to go for a more late game or mid game oriented build, then I would recommend going Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm. This just gives you more AD if you're above 70% HP or the longer the game goes on. But again, it depends on your playstyle. I prefer having more early game power, so I would recommend running Inspiration most of the time. Now, for AP Shaco, there's not really much you can change in the runes themselves. You kind of want to run Dark Harvest. Cheap Shot is just a better option because you're realistically not going to use Sudden Impact as much as on 80. I would recommend going Eyeball Collection as well because you're playing solo queue. And Ultimate Hunter just helps you have your, well, game-changing ultimate up as often as possible, which I think is a lot better than having Ravenous or just anything else in here. Now, secondary, anything about Sorcery is kind of trolling, so just go over Sorcery. Transcendence gives you more CDR, which is really good. It also resets the non-ultimate cooldowns by 20% if you get a kill or an assist, so that's really huge. And then Gathering Storm just gives you more AP the longer the game goes, which is obviously helpful. Now, I would still recommend going the attack speed and the mini runes because it helps with your clear early on. Even though you're probably going to go for box max anyways, this just makes sure that you do get through the first clears and even through the first duels pretty well. And you get enough CDR in my opinion anyways, so the extra 8 from these runes don't really matter too much in my opinion. So in terms of itemization, I'm going to show you a couple of builds. There's going to be 2 builds for 80 Shaco and 1 build for AP Shaco with a bit of variation you can make. But the first build I want to show you is the Eclipse crit build, which is currently my favorite build. I think it is the, well, quotations best. It is what works for me best. It also what, for example, Mad Scientist runs. But I'm going to show you another build that a really high elo EOS player runs by the name of Jokebox. But more about that in a second. Now, the Eclipse build is, in my opinion, so good because Eclipse kind of feels like the Trinity Force from Season 8 and Season 9, which just had so many stats and so much stuff packed into it that it was just a perfect item. Now, you want to start with Red Smite, aka Ember Knife. You can go Blue Smite. I just think that having the extra dual power, especially on an Eclipse build, is really powerful. You can skip out on the Potion. I don't think it makes too much sense here because the Potion for 150 gold offers so much value. It helps in duels, it helps when clearing. If you're ever, you know, about to die to Ignite, you can pop a potion, it maybe saves you. So I think 150 gold that you can then resell, it's just too valuable not to buy. Obviously you want to go for the Trinket, which in this case is going to be the yellow Trinket. I don't think getting Red's Trinket that early on is worth it, but you can get it your first pack, and you should get it your first pack. Now you can make a decision between, do I want to finish my boots first, or do I want to finish the Eclipse first? I personally think that finishing the mythic item, in this case Eclipse, is a lot more valuable, a lot more important. You can buy a dagger early on, especially because you probably run the free boots anyways, so you can't finish these boots too early anyways, which I think it works just fine. Then obviously, once you have Eclipse, you go Essence Weaver to start transitioning into the crit build, and once you have Eclipse and Essence Weaver, especially if you're ahead, you can start nuking targets really easily. After that, you can make the decision between going LDR or Collector, which comes down to how much armor the enemy team has. So if the enemy team is far behind, they don't have much armor because their team is mostly AP heavy, then I would almost always recommend going Collector. Now, if the enemy team does have tanks though, or has targets with higher armor, or they have like Ninja Tabis, or they have like Zonyas, or they're going to build Zonyas in the future, then I would definitely recommend getting LDR instead. Now, because you already have 2 crit items with Essence Reaver and one of those 2, now you kind of want to have Infinity Edge, because once you have 60% crit chance and you have Infinity Edge in your inventory, you start dealing massive damage with your crits. 3 items, well, technically 4 with Eclipse, and you're going to be nuking people left and right. This is actually an insane power spike. So there's 1 slot left. You can pretty much build one of these items down here. Usually I do like to get the Eclipse, Essence Reaver, then LDR, Infinity Edge. I don't like to build items before that, because the 60% crit spike is just that good. You can buy Serpent Fang, for example, after Essence Reaver, if the enemy team has a lot of shields. Stuff like Lulu, Ivern, they can really fuck you over, so sometimes having shield reduction is pretty valuable. Quick Blades, I don't usually build really, because they're just too expensive and they don't give you enough back. You can go for something like Edge of Night, for example, if you feel like you run into a team fight, but then you get hit by skill shots while invisible, or you need to like dodge that one crucial, or you need to block that one crucial ability. You can also go Maw if the enemy team is very magic resist heavy. If, for example, you try to nuke the enemy squishies, but they try and kill you back, so Maw can save you in that one. Same goes for the Guardian, obviously, the Guardian Angel. So it just really depends on what you want to do. If you want more damage, if you need more resistances, if you just want to have like a spell shield, it's honestly up to you. This is usually what I have in terms of builds. I like getting the stopwatch after I have Infinity Edge, so that in a game-winning team fight, or, you know, a team fight that would win us the game, I can maybe Q in, try and kill a target, then stopwatch, and then maybe Q out again, or, you know, get 1 or 2 more auto attacks in. And that's just, in my opinion, a really good item. So the second build is a Stridebreaker build. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's a guy called Jokebox, or Ekoj is what he goes by on EOS. He is currently... he kind of hovers around 400 to 600 OP, so he is between Grandmaster and Challenger all the time. What he runs is a Stridebreaker build. Now, I'm not going to give his very exact build to you guys, because I think there is improvements to be made. I can link the OPGG of the guy, or yeah, I will link the OPGG of him in the comment section down below, or in the info box. I'm not sure yet, but yeah. Anyways, now, in my opinion, I think Red Smite is better. He likes to go Blue Smite. I still think that Red Smite just offers more value. Also, again, getting the potion, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense. It is just super gold efficient, and it saves you, or can save you, a lot of times. First back, again, you kind of want to get your Oracle Lens, and then you also want to try and time your first back around getting the Iron Whip. This is pretty much the more important item in this build. It allows you to clear faster. It's kind of like the old Tiamat active, where you have like a little bit of extra damage. This just helps when ganking, or when dueling, or, as I said, when clearing. So you try, you really want to try and get this first back. If you can't, it's really awkward. Something that Jokebox, for example, does is he doesn't buy the potion, so he ensures having the Iron Whip first back. But I think now, especially with the box buffs, we don't really have to struggle getting through the jungle anymore that early on. So if we don't have to go, we can stay in the jungle and then recall once we have it. So first item I'm going to finish is obviously going to be Stridebreaker. Stridebreaker is really powerful because it kind of just... you basically get so many things at once. It's kind of like Trinity Force in that sense, or the old Trinity Force. You have a dash, which also deals damage. It also slows the enemies, and the item itself has great stats. It has attack damage, it has attack speed, it has health, and it also has ability haste, and obviously the active. So this item has like everything you kind of want on an assassin, to stick to your target and kill them, which is kind of why this item is so great. It also has a built-in Tiamat, which helps you clear, so it kind of feels like the perfect item. Now, you also want to go for Berserker Greaves, and then the second item, or your second core item, is going to be the Semyon Blade. This will also increase your clear speed, this will give you a big chunk of attack speed, and it is just really great for picking targets out one by one. It actually isn't even that bad, even when in a team fight, so even if you lose the attack speed from this item, it's still not that bad. So keep that in mind. Now, after that, you can, well, pick one of the situational items. I usually like transitioning into a crit build by going Essence Reaver, or then going LDR. But you can also go Serpent's Fang, which is right now actually very strong, because it reduces shields, it has great stats, it has 18 utility, 5580. So I think it's a really great item. You can also go Edge of Night, again, if you kind of want to block like skill shots or abilities that may happen. You can also go GA, again, you can also go Maw if you want to. I usually just prefer going into a crit build, which something like this, for example, where you go Stridebreaker, you go Berserker Greaves, then Descension, which is the core build, then you can go Serpent's Fang into Essence Reaver into LDR. So for AP Shaco, things are a bit more simple. You don't really have to choose between two different builds, just two different mythic items. Now, you want to go Blue Smite in this case because you don't really want to duel people in melee range, so you don't really make use of the Red Smite too much. Also, the Blue Smite slows, which makes it easier for enemies to be stuck on top of your boxes. Again, get a potion and a yellow trinket, and then a first recall you want to go and try to get a Dark Steel and Ionian Boots, or depending on which mythic you want to go for, one of the components. Now, the only decision that you have to make is, do I want to go Liandry's or do I want to go Everfrost? Now, it's a bit more complicated than just one or the other, and, you know, what do I want? It kind of depends on, first of all, playstyle and enemy team comms. I usually, in 99% of the cases, go Liandry's because it first of all fits my playstyle better, and it has more damage and more 1v9 potential in my opinion. Everfrost, on the other hand, though, is a very strong item because it allows you to, well, open up a lot of picks on the map, stunning people on top of your boxes, getting, you know, the chains to see and stuff, or just getting picks in general makes it more team-oriented. But again, maybe that's something you like. Maybe you like the tricky kind of playstyle where you go in and you look for picks and you open up your team, you know, for favorable situations. It kind of depends. Again, this is sadly how it is, but it depends on your playstyle, your preference. I would recommend playing both items, see what you like more, and then just stick with what you prefer. Now, after that, you want to go for Cosmic Drive. So that's basically going to be your core. Try and get a Dark Steel if you can. If not, then that's also fine. Get Ionian Boots and then one of the Mythics. And then you want to go for the Cosmic Drive. Cosmic Drive is really, really powerful. 40 ability haste. You have to keep in mind that's 40 ability haste, which is crazy. And you also get the movement speed buff, anti-health, and the AP. This item is really, really big fucking stonks. It's basically tailored for Shaco, if you ask me. Now is where you make the decision between what situational items do I want. The way you can look at this is basically, usually in 90% of the cases, you want to go for Void Staff. Even if the enemy team doesn't have a lot of magic resist, this is still a very powerful item because 40% magic resist, 40% magic penetration is a lot. That is a very lot. So this is really, really good. It has 65 AP, the 40% magic penetration, and it's only 2,500 gold. So this item is really, 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 really strong. You can also go for stuff like Zhonya's, which opens up the more play-making oriented playstyle. Especially in combination with Everfrost, this allows you to do some really cool stuff. And obviously, it helps against assassins or a lot of AD champions on enemy team. Same thing goes for Banshees if you need the magic resist, or if you need that shield because the enemy team, you know, has annoying abilities that you need to or want to dodge, then Banshees is also a great option. Now, Morellos, I only really build if I am super far ahead and my team needs healing reduction. You can obviously also just go for the Oblivion Orb as a single item, but usually you kind of want to finish that into Morello later on in the game anyways. Now, Magi's is also something you can build. I'm personally cursed. Whenever I build Magi's, I always die. So I don't like it very much because I always lose the stacks. But if you guys are confident and you guys know how not to die when having Magi's, then it is a super, super gold efficient item and I would definitely recommend building it. You can also go for Rabadons. I think that's also a good item. It's quite expensive. You might want to wait until the buffs in 11.6 where this item is going to go down by 200 gold. But again, if you kind of just want to have raw AP and you don't care about resistances and care about, you know, not dying, then yeah, Rabadons it is, honestly. And this is usually what a full build looks like. So in terms of skill order, a couple things changed ever since the box buffs that we recently got. Now, the only conscious decision you have to make is which build are you running, and then, well, which skill order you have. In terms of Eclipse build, you want to have, in my opinion, I think 3 is the most optimal. You can get away with 2 as well, points in W. But I think having 3 points in W is the most optimal way you can run it. Then for the Stridebreaker build, I would say you can probably get away with just maxing E straight away, or if you're a bit insecure about that, you can get a second point into W if needed. Now for AP Shaco, I personally like to max W all the way, which means 5 points into W, and then maxing E. But again, you can kind of play around. I think 3 points would also be enough on AP, but I personally think that having box max is probably the best option because it allows you to clear your jungle so fast that you can pretty much match a Karthus clear. So the clear is pretty much the exact same as in my last video, so nothing really changed. I'm only going to go over the point into E at level 3 clear because the second point to W doesn't really make too much sense in my opinion. I've never really used it in my games, so why even show it if I don't use it or don't see anybody else use it. Now you want to place 2 boxes on the Wraith camp. The again placement is the exact same in the last video. Then want to put 1 between Wraith and red and then start hitting the red buff. Meanwhile the Wraith is going to run into the box. You place your box down on the red buff, do 2 more auto attacks, and then run to the chicken to finish it off with an auto attack, Q back to the red buff, and finish it off. Then you want to Q over to the Krug camp, place the box down, smite the big Krug, keep hitting the small ones until your box comes back up, place it down, let it finish the mini Krugs off, and run to the wolf camp. You want to get your E at level 3, then wait in the queue until your box comes up, then place the box down, then do your first auto attack on the big wolf. And then you want to wait until the poison finishes off the small wolves about to 1 auto attack range. Then you do 1 backstab each and they should die to a burn. Afterwards you Q to the blue buff, you place the box down, keep hitting it, backstabs, 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 and then the same thing for the Gromp. The exact same thing obviously on the opposite side of the map, just that the box placement is slightly different. If you guys struggle with the box placement itself, there is an Imgur link to an album that shows you where exactly to place the boxes. Again, the placement isn't too important, but if you're new to Shaco or you're struggling, then the placement will definitely help. So box placement again is the same as in my last video, so if you already saw that, you're pretty much good to go. The procedure is the same, so I'm not going to really talk about it much anymore. Now, I do hope you enjoyed this video. I am really happy to be pumping out these videos recently. My channel has been doing pretty fucking well actually, so I'm really thankful for that. So a big thank you to you guys actually, because you're the ones, well, clicking on it, so much appreciated. Again, I have the link to a Twitch and my Discord in the description down below. I would highly appreciate it if you guys could, check it out. If it's not for you, then that's obviously fine. But I think my streams are pretty cool at the moment. I've been enjoying streaming a lot more recently. So if you guys want to give that a try, then that would be highly appreciated. And Discord is just a great place to talk to me outside of my streams. If you have questions or, just want to talk to me, get involved in the community, that's a great way to do that. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace out.